in a month, a man should ejaculate at least 21 times.
Yes.
What? People are busy, so how is this supposed to happen? Hi guys, welcome to Off Air with Gbemi and Toolz. How are you? How has your week been and all of that? Wait, so before we move forward, you know the drill. First of all, you need to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also make sure that you share this with all your friends, your co-workers, and everybody. Make sure you subscribe and all of that. Toolz has said she's going to twerk when we get to a certain number.
This twerking thing, it was always Gbemi's idea. I never said I was going to twerk. She brought it up, so I think she's the one that should twerk. You're the one that said this. Deb China should give you lessons, so I think you should twerk. Anyways, moving on. Let us get into this. We have got fan mail, and you know we love fan mail, especially when it's about gist and everything. I love it. All right, so I'm not going to mention her name, but this is how it reads. It's a long one. So it's basically a friendship that may have gone a bit sour. So she starts off by saying that she last year she left a very toxic relationship, and her friend knew all about it. She said that she's happy to be out alive because she almost lost her mind during those times.
Oh, God.
Fast forward to this year, the guy that she was in a toxic relationship with has been contacting her friend.
Why?
And telling her stuff. And she doesn't know what they're talking about. Anyways, he now said that he's getting married, and he told her friend that if she had behaved herself, she would have been the one he would have been marrying.
Good riddance.
And how she didn't know how to have sex properly, all of this.
Why are you telling my friend this?
Do you understand? And why is your friend listening? Why is your friend entertaining this? And how he wants her friend to be in the wife's bridal train.
Why is the friend still entertaining this conversation?
Anyways, so she said that, okay, that she was trying not to get upset about the whole thing. She's living her life. She's happy. And she's actually happy that, you know, she's not the one that he's getting married to. But she said that she feels that her friend should have her back and stop communication with him. She says, am I wrong? Absolutely not.
You're not wrong.
And she said, just 2 days ago, I was just going through my WhatsApp status and I saw she posted his traditional wedding pictures. And she wrote, "Congratulations, Michael. I can't wait to come party with you on your white wedding next weekend. Abuja go mad." She said that her chest, she was like, my chest. And when her friend realized that she'd seen it, she took them down and she hasn't spoken to her since. She said that she's very pained about the whole thing. She told her auntie about it, and the aunt said that she's not your friend. She said this is not the first time that, you know, something has happened in their friendship. She said that she remembers when the friend got engaged and she didn't tell her. So this friend that, you know, is talking to her ex got engaged, she didn't tell her. She said that she found out on social media. Straight up, let's jump into it. That's not your friend.
This person is not your friend. Why are you still asking all these questions? And I don't think you need this person in your life. There's no need to, you don't even have to confront her. It's okay, just blank her.
Just let it go.
Block.
Just let it go.
Simple.
Things change. There are new seasons. Their new friendships.
You outgrow friendships the way you outgrow clothes. So
I feel funny. Like if I have a good friend and she was dating somebody or they were married and they split up, I find it difficult to even speak to that person, even if I know that person, because my loyalty lies with my friend. So it's difficult for me to like even have regular conversations. Talk less of the guy coming to say, hey, your friend was this, your friend was that.
And if your friend could not defend you in that moment, then she's not your friend. It's simple. Why is she still maintaining conflict? Okay, let's suppose that you all grew up together or whatever, and I don't know, and they're friends or whatever. Your friend can say, you know what, I really don't want to hear this.
Yes.
You know, this is not my business. I really should not. I don't care what my friend's performance was in the bedroom with you. Why is this is your friend sleeping with him? Because I don't understand.
You know what? I don't even know what's going on, because I don't understand why they are constantly making her the topic. If it was a case of, okay, maybe they were friends, they were all friends, and, you know, you guys split up and she'd known him maybe before she knew you, they can still carry on that friendship. Obviously, she needs to make sure that you're okay with it and everything, but they don't need to talk about you.
Exactly.
Secondly, if this is something that, you know, she knows or she has an inkling inkling it might affect you, she should have talked to you before going to the wedding.
What sort of friend will not even tell you that she got engaged and you find it on social media?
No,
anyway?
That's not your friend. That's not your friend.
Girl, that's not your friend. It's okay.
See, I think sometimes we hold on to friendships because, we've known that person for a long time or, whatever. But sometimes it's like with relationships, sometimes relationships don't work. Sometimes friendships don't work. If you find that, and this goes for relationships as well, if you find that the sad times that you have with this person are way more than the happy times, dead it. Simple. Life is too short.
Simple.
But
what this person is doing, this person is moving mad, and you don't need to quarrel. It's okay. Just
moving reckless.
If I were you, I'd just block them. Simple.
Yeah. It's not even a case. You just there's sometimes that you've just decided that, okay, this person's not my friend anymore. It's not even a beef. It's not even like I'm not talking to you. You just keep things moving. I do that sometimes. I'm just like, you know what? We're not communicating or performing on the same level. So, you know what? You go your way, I go mine. It's not even beef. Simple. I'll see you. I'll be like, hey, what's up? Good. God bless you as you go away. And that's it.
Simple.
All right. And oh my gosh, Nick Cannon. What kind of super sperm does he have?
Wait, let's break it down. Nick Cannon was married to Mariah Carey. They had a set of twins.
I didn't say she dodged the bullet, but did she?
They had a set of twins.
Yeah.
Shortly after the set of twins,
they
split up, and then he impregnated somebody else. So he had his third child. Then we hear that this year.
Let me just so we don't lose count.
Then we hear that this year there's one woman
that just had a baby.
Yeah. And then another woman is having his baby.
No, the one just had twins. So that's another. Wait, so it's 6 already?
7. It's 7.
No, but there's one that's expecting that hasn't had a baby yet.
That's what I'm saying. Okay. So it's one after the third child, one had a baby, then the twins, another set of twins, then there's one on the way. Let's just say this, what? At least he's around for all the pregnancy, the maternity shoots.
Yes.
He loves a photo. Everything. I'm just saying, like, what is that? That's just disgusting.
He is moving mad. He's moving like somebody that does not believe in STDs.
Yeah.
Even if you get tested, you're still having sex with different people on a regular basis. And I reckon that these women that he has impregnated, these are probably not the only women he's sleeping with. So they're like a whole bunch of, women in Nick Cannon's harem that are just bumping uglies, exchanging juices, all of that stuff.
I know that, he's making his money or whatever. Because I remember people were trying to, make fun of him.
He can afford it.
Make fun of him when he got married to Mariah Carey, and they used to call him Mr. Mariah Carey. And people were like, come, this guy has always had a job since when we were teenagers. He's always been on TV. He's always doing one thing or the other. However, bro, in this economy, 7 children? Really?
Do you know what it is? I think, being a father is way more than just being able to pay your kids' bills and everything.
Quality time is very important. How are you going to spread yourself?
It's going to be difficult because these women now, if you think about it, right? Even Mariah's moved on. She's, I don't know if is she still with her dancer guy or...
No, she dated a billionaire, but they broke up.
Yeah, so she's not... I know now, that guy... Is that the guy that she sued?
Yeah, she sued him for wasting her time.
Which I feel is a very, very valid point, but we'll talk about that another time. But if you think about it now, so Nick Cannon and Mariah, they have twins. Mariah, possibly, she might marry somebody else. And that means that their children are going to be pretty much living with, somebody else that is going to become their stepdad. And so he's probably going to have conversations with Mariah about, rules and whatever. And then these rules might not be the exact rules that Nick Cannon would want for his kids. But that's what happens when you have like...
blended families.
Yeah, there was somebody, I can't remember, there was a rapper or so that actually said that one of his biggest regrets was not having all of his children with one woman because, and it wasn't like because I love this woman, it was because he said that my kids are being raised differently. And that's a very valid point. So you have certain rules in this household, you have certain rules in another household. So there's only so much you can say, even if you are, financially supporting and everything, there's certain rules that because you do not live in that same house, it's going to be very difficult for you to, affect those rules. So that's what's going to happen. I think it's, as much as, he has the money, I've always been a bit funny about, having like lots and lots and lots of kids, because even though you can provide the financial support, that is not all a child needs. A child needs like a lot. You need the emotional support. You need, mental. There's so many different things. Maybe he's, I don't know, maybe outside of his, like, how many other jobs he's able to do that with all his kids. I don't know.
Good luck to him and his turban.
But yes, you might want to consider vasectomy.
Yeah.
And speaking of spreading your seeds, this episode is pretty much about sex. Yeah, yes. We're going to speak with
sexual health as well.
Well, sexual health, sexual health.
Yeah.
We're going to speak with a doctor. He's a men's doctor specifically, and he's going to talk to all the men out there, young and old. You might want to listen up, okay? And we're also going to speak with a sex therapist, Olateru-Olagbegi, as well.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting. We have a guest in the studio, Dr. Rashid Abbasi of the Heritage Men's Clinic, and he's here to enlighten us, especially the men, about sexual health. Thank you. All right, so Doc, first of all, I'm just curious, like the Heritage Men's Clinic, why did you even set up the clinic in the first place?
Thank you. So the very first Heritage Men's Clinic is in Washington, D.C. I've been doing this in this particular space for about 19 years. But the growing number of the fact that men lives under the perception of our ego. We don't go to the doctors. But the growing problem we're having is lack of performance in the room. So if we look at that, but if we expand that lack of performance in the room, it affects the whole family. So actually, in my own state of Maryland, they actually have a governor's office that addresses this. Divorce rate is gone up. Number one. Number two reason is lack of money and lack of performance in the bedroom.
What exactly do you mean by lack of performance?
So we have to move away from just sex, and we have to learn to do love making because it's mutually beneficial.
Yes.
So when you just do sex, you're turning the female partners into a trash can. You just boom, 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 and then you're done. So it's not beneficial, even to the men. But if you actually do the foreplay and you do love making, it's mutually respectful. And for the men that wants to be fathers, that's actually the best assuring way. If you penetrate a woman that is not wet, your sperm will die. That's just science. The wetness promotes your sperm motility, and it allows the sperm to actually find the egg. So if you just penetrate a woman that is not really ready for you, it's basically like you're raping her.
You know what? I will let you continue, doctor, because obviously you studied this, but we've been telling you guys this all. We've been telling you guys this all.
Which guys?
I'm just. Why do you get defensive with me? All right. You want to give me phone numbers?
So there was someone. How I heard about you was because you were on our colleague's show, Chico of Classic FM, and he what he would do is after the show he'd come and share what he learned from you. And there was this week where you mentioned that in a month, a man should ejaculate at least 21 times.
Yes.
People are busy, so how is this supposed to happen?
No. So this not me. This is just plain science. It came out of Harvard and it came out of Norwegian study. They are the largest group of men's sexual health. So what they were actually looking at is men that are very active. We're not talking about just exercising. The best form of exercise is good love making. It involves all your body. So
how many calories can you burn?
Actually, no. That's
I don't know how going to the gym.
So the 21 studies test actually shows that number one, it prevents heart attack and it saves you away from prostate cancer.
Yes.
And those are two things that we know we can have effect on. So if a man is in a meaningful relationship, the more times he can get it, the better. We understand 5 days, 6 days is for the women's menstrual period. The rest of the time, if the man treats the woman well, the woman will actually pursue you. Women will retract if you're only turning them into sex. But if it's love making, the woman will pursue. And it's mutually benefiting.
That is a whole other conversation because obviously, while you guys are listening, it's very, very important to kind of basically set the scene before. Not like it just at the end of the day, you're like, oh yeah, now, or you start rubbing thigh. Like, oh yeah, baby. You need to do things like, okay, how was your day? How can I make your day better? Look at TK. You haven't been doing that in the past. Now I want you to listen to me and listen very well. It's very important for you to set the scene before you actually get into the bedroom. How we women think, it's not like we're just there and you start rubbing thigh and then we're like, oh, no. You actually need to, work on it before. how's your day been? Was it stressful? How can I, do you need like a massage? And not like a 2-minute massage and then bam. No, don't do that. Do you understand?
Oh my goodness.
No, not 4 minutes, like a full body massage. Sorry. I need to talk to my brothers, man.
I don't know, man.
No, TK was doing this like, I didn't know that. That's what I was like, sorry, sir.
No, she's actually alluding to a great point.
Okay.
The largest sex organ in our body and in the woman's body is the brain. So if men can connect cerebrally, then you find out that the woman will give you more than 21 times.
Cerebrally.
In a month.
That 21 times. Wait, that's like how many times a week now?
So average of 4 to 5 times. So in your defense, the study actually allows men to masturbate.
Okay.
But that is to include men that are maybe in same sex or men that are single. But when we're talking about men in meaningful relationships, then the more times you can get it, the better.
The key word is meaningful relationships.
So this study, was it done with men in like the prime of their sexual health?
No, good point. So it actually varies. So the youngest in the study was like 16 and the oldest is 74.
Okay. 74, you're still supposed to do that?
No. Actually, my youngest patient in US is 21. My oldest is 94. He was brought in by his 79-year-old wife.
Excuse me, what?
She's a hot girl forever.
79-year-old wife brought a 94-year-old. They never miss an appointment.
Can't they die? Like
That's
that?
No, die?
So people still have sex like in their 70s?
Honestly.
Yes. I had no idea.
Honestly. And if you look at the physiology,
can that cause like if somebody is 70 something like OAP age and everything, and they have like a vigorous round, can't that kill them?
So what we want to recommend to people or advise is don't use over-the-counter sex enhancement.
Okay.
Again, remember it's not just sex. We're talking love making. So there are multiple ways to make love. That leads to your point, getting the woman cerebrally. And that's what these older folks tend to do. They've been married for 40, 50 years. They understand each other now. He knows what turns the woman on. The woman knows what turns him on. They're not going to push their boundaries. And again, to younger men who think multiple rounds is good, is actually medically disadvantageous to do multiple rounds in a day. Do one good round.
Doctor, why?
One good round that gets you sweating, that gets
like
up
how
panting.
many minutes? Like one good round. Some might just say about 2 minutes.
No. So that's a good point. So medically, in this space of men's health, men act like microwave. When you see a fine woman, your fine girlfriend comes to you, your body turns on like that. Women are like oven. So you need to accommodate time to do foreplay to get your woman preheated. So a man should have an adequate erection for 15 minutes or longer. So most of my brothers that do 2-3 minutes, they have problem.
You have what? You have problem. He's like, what? 2-3 minutes is not good enough?
I don't understand. No,
I don't get the question.
I don't get the...
So when...
How long?
So for like what
you can't sustain an erection for
longer than 2
Yes.
minutes.
On its own, that's the question.
No. So for example, every man that wakes up in the morning should get a good erection. That's a good physiologic sign. You wake up, your heart is pumping, it sends blood to your waist, your penis should respond. And now when you're with your woman, you should get a strong erection that should last you at least 15 minutes or longer. The longer depends on stimulation and all.
When you're actually, having sex.
Yeah.
You should be able to hold your erection for
15 minutes or longer. So most men are afraid because they think this will not last. That their erection is going to go down. So instead of that, they just want to penetrate. And somewhere along the line, men get the false knowledge that maybe if I'm in, I'll get stronger. It never works that way.
Okay. Can you talk about diet really quick? Because I remember also hearing that you should kind of not do the whole swallow thing.
Yes. No, that's a good point.
Is that your purpose in life? You just to make sure you're...
God kept me away from all that.
So how does swallow affect your man's sexual health?
Yes. So when we talk about swallow, we're talking about complex carbs, eba, amola, pounded jam, and everything. What the study tells us is when you and I consume that, if you really want to be honest, 10-15 minutes later you are sleeping. You are falling asleep. The reason for that is 80% of the blood flow has gone into your belly. So nothing is going below your waist. In order to perform in the other room, you need all the blood flow to your waist. So your 8 cylinders, there's going to be power failure if you just finish swallow. And the swallow is going to take 6 to 8 hours to digest compared to if you eat healthy food. I'm not so much advocating everybody should eat salad, but if you know it's your date night, avoid swallow.
So what should we eat more?
Or maybe you can have swallow in the morning.
Yes, you can have swallow in the morning. You can have swallow early in the day. So you understand?
Say swallow's cancelled.
All is done. What should we eat?
No. So that's a good point. So you want to eat something that doesn't overwhelm your system.
Okay.
So we have things like pap here. You have custard. You have grits. You have things like oatmeal. They're 100% fiber.
This is the meat
So
rice.
yeah, and you feel light. You feel light. You stay well hydrated because your woman expects it to last longer. So the more fluids you have in your body, the more the erection will be.
Okay.
And then stay away from salt. All black people.
Okay, genuinely. Okay, so for the guys that are listening that are like, oh my gosh, I cannot last 15 minutes. What does that mean? What do they do?
Yeah. So every
The
man,
guys in
even
the studio, they're
yes.
probably thinking that as
So
well.
for most men, for those of us that might still be lucky to get erection in the morning, you and I have 7 blood vessels that go to the penis. One of them will wake you up in the morning to say it's time to pee. But when it's time to make love, you need all the 7 to bring blood. So what happens with men that are 2 minutes, 3 minutes is one of the 7 is overriding the major vessel. So premature ejaculation is a vascular problem. We address that in the clinic. And we have medications that can make you last 1 hour, guaranteed.
I like the
Why? 1 hour, but that's too much.
That's just like
Ladies,
So let's say 1 hour. If I'm guaranteed an erection for 1 hour and my woman needs about 15-20 minutes of foreplay
to warm up,
to
you
warm
know,
up,
yeah.
you know, so that means that's out of my 1 hour.
Yeah, 15-20 minutes, and then, you know, different positions.
And I still want to be the daddy, so I want to have my 30 minutes.
Of course.
Because you talk about 1 hour.
what?
You have to show yourself
Not to
first.
show, exactly.
Why are you so excited?
He's so excited today. He's so excited. I think I'm so excited today. It's crazy.
Do you have a question?
Yes.
So, yes.
Ask you.
No, ask
So,
me.
because,
Okay.
Okay.
How do you know when somebody has erectile dysfunction? What counts as that?
Erectile dysfunction, or what we call ED, it's actually just a man's problem. It has nothing to do with the woman. It's not that the woman is not fine enough. It's not like, oh, she's not stimulating me enough. No. Every man that sees a beautiful woman naked is supposed to have a response. That response should be your erection. And anytime it fails, even though we get away with lots of excuses like, oh, I'm stressed, oh, there's something wrong. Because if you see a woman that actually turns you on, your heart rate will go up a little bit. That means more blood. The blood vessels there should open up. If they're not opening up, make sure you check your cholesterol. Make sure you check things for like high blood pressure, diabetes. We can get away 1 or 2 times saying, oh, I'm stressed and all that, you know, and that's one classic form of erectile dysfunction, just power failure, not getting it up at all. Or perhaps you get it up, but you're not up to your full strength. Why go to the battlefront with half of your ammunition? That's another power failure.
Power failure. All sorts of power failure in this country, man.
Yeah, you
All
were also
sorts.
going to ask. What's going to ask about STDs?
Oh, sorry. Before that. So I know somebody.
Talk it.
Should I?
Yo,
Talk
talk
it.
it.
Talk it.
So apparently, I think they've been married for about 6-7 years, and gradually things kind of just got, you know, quieter and quieter in the bedroom. So sometimes she'll say that they can go like a month and a half.
Wow.
Without anything.
Wow.
So, you know, she obviously talked to him, she did this, she tried different things and it didn't really work. So eventually she got some over the, you know, counter prescription and she'll put it in his food.
Okay.
Without telling him?
Yeah, without telling him.
Oh.
So she'll put it in his food without telling him.
Okay.
I'm assuming that's not the right thing to do.
Of course not.
That's not because, I mean, okay, let's assume that that's actually a good medication because of the side effects. That may be, you know, it might actually defeat the purpose. But we also have to understand from the woman's angle, men are very reluctant. It bruises his ego to even find out that his woman is trying to say, look, you are not the big boss anymore. But it's all about communication. Because if I go into the other room and there's power failure, the way my woman handles it is break all. If she handles it like I'm a big teddy bear and say, hey, don't worry, things like that happen. Even though I might know she's BSing me, it's still going to give, you know, protect my ego.
Yeah.
Compared to if she says, you see, you've been going out, you have all these side chicks, now you can.
Oh shit.
Then the man retracts and that gets worse.
Yeah.
So it's all about communication. And we're not perfect, so it's about time we face up also that look, when you're in that room, it's both of us, not against each other. We're actually in the same camp. You know.
So how do you handle this? Because for somebody like that, they've obviously had several conversations about it, and that's power failure has happened like a few times. So how do you actually get him to do something about it?
No, that's good. So there is no one perfect answer that fits all, but let me tell you what has worked for us, both in Lagos and in DC. We've had men walk into the clinic, they had no idea what we do. And they say, my wife said that I have an appointment. And then I'll say, well, welcome to Heritage Men's Clinic. This is what we do. But shit, I know why she called me.
Wow.
Right? So now that when they get in there, they become comfortable. We don't have any female employee just for that reason.
Okay.
So it's all men. So now, and we let him know that, hey, it's okay. She wants you to come and have a thorough evaluation. And then we go in there and let him know that, look, you are not the only one. This thing is going to happen to almost everybody. Then it opens up. So most women will call us, book appointment, and then we just follow up. That has, just like that.
Like an intervention. a little bit. Okay, now let's talk about one of the big things. STDs.
Yes.
That is something that I feel that we don't talk about enough in this country.
Yes.
One of my good friends is a doctor, and she said that she told me the story about how she was about to get on a flight once, and the people that check your ticket and everything, so they checked her boarding pass and they saw that had doctor on it, and then he pulled her aside and he's like, basically that he's going through something, and she's like, what? And he's like, every time how do I say this now? I'm trying to find a nice way. Anyways, there's a green discharge coming out from his penis.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, that's obviously like an STD.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's used agbo and different things and whatever. And she's like, are you still having unprotected sex with people? He's like, yes, but so obviously this is somebody that either he's being extremely ignorant or he just does not know better. And I feel that there are a lot of people that I like that. Like, we've had stories of guys that will be like, I didn't use a condom but she looked clean. What?
Yes,
You haven't heard? Yes,
No, I
now
have,
she looks
but, like, it just
clean.
doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you have guys that do that one looks clean now, she's good.
No, that's a good point. And we have to have a vulnerable space. This is one of the problems that guys face because we're mostly visual. We see the woman, everything all packaged up, and we think she's also clean down there. Or some of us go into the rain without the raincoat. That's a no-no. You need to have your condom on.
You can't stand the rain.
But if you are in a meaningful relationship, we're talking monogamous. But because it's beneficial for both parts. And men tend to respond when they know it's selfish interest. If you have an STD and it's unbeknownst to you or is improperly treated, it's going to affect your sperm cells. So for you to become a father will be extremely difficult. Not to talk about endangering your female partner's life. Because there are worse things than HIV. Honestly, HIV used to get the old noise, but there are worse sexually transmitted infections than HIV.
Yeah, my friend actually believes that there's some STDs in Nigeria that haven't been discovered in the world. Like there's some crazy things. Now there's something that it's true, right? Yeah, there's some STDs that because of people that go and I don't even know. Like what we were talking about last week, the crazy stuff people do. But on a serious note, there is an STD that can actually cause ovarian cancer, right?
Yes.
What's
So
it called,
we have
please?
HPV,
Okay.
human papilloma virus. There are different strains, and this was a big news when Michael Douglas got divorced because Michael claimed he was clean and that he got it from his wife through oral sex.
Yeah.
Because the HPV, men do carry it where we remain mostly asymptomatic.
Okay.
Yes.
And if women get it and they don't go for regular pap smear, it
Yes.
can affect the cervix. And most men
Smear
can
tests
get
are
it.
so important.
So yes.
Yeah, so it's basically something that can live in a man, and
And not
but then once it gets into a woman's body, it can cause ovarian cancer, which is one of the most serious cancers.
Women are more
There you go,
susceptible to
another way that
actually-
men are trying to bring women down.
Can
Why
you calm
are you
down?
blaming us
Can
for
you
the
really
virus?
calm down?
Trick Adams.
Can you please calm down
Yeah,
first?
so why did it even trick Adam? That's a different story.
Well, some people
No, but I just
are-
think that women need to know this, and men need to know this as well, because women are more vulnerable
Yes,
to
that's
a
very
lot
true.
of
Yeah.
STDs and things like that. How do you convince how do you get women to convince their partners to strap up? Especially if they're not, one, maybe for protection's sake, and also to make sure that, pregnancy doesn't occur.
Yeah.
For instance.
It starts with communication, really, honestly. If we take it down to the cellular, selfish level that, look, even if I don't care about anybody, I should care about myself. Then it's, who do I want to be in bed with? The whole idea is you want to be in bed with someone that if the light turns on, you will still be happy you are there. And so if you make that decision, then you must care about that person. And part of caring is that you want them to be with you for a long time. So don't expose them. And then do the basic step. Go for your own regular screening. You don't have to come to Heritage. Go for a regular screening. Because there might be things that you have that you don't even know you have.
That's very true.
So when you go, then the earlier you know, the better.
Yes.
And then everybody that depends on you, it falls on your shoulder and you protected them indirectly.
Okay. I'm going to ask you about fertility in a second, but for a man living in Lagos, enjoying all the Lagos life, how often do they need to get tested for STDs?
If the man is sexually active, so let's start with what we think should be the ideal man.
And they're in a Lagos monogamous relationship.
Let's say one man, one woman. You are sexually active. The recommendation is you're just with one woman. Recommendation is every quarter.
You said what?
My guy said what? And if you're in a Lagos monogamous relationship, which means you're maybe faithful Monday to Wednesday.
At least he's honest.
The mass is wrong.
So if you have more than one sexual
if you have more than one sexual partner, we recommend every 4 to 6 weeks.
Basically, every month you should be getting tested. Every month you should be getting tested.
Okay. Would you recommend
ask a guy, did you hear that every month you should be getting tested?
That before a couple gets married, they should basically, the guy should come for screening basically to check on sperm counts and things like that, STDs and so on and so forth.
So I was going to ask about fertility. That's a big thing in this country. Unfortunately, when a couple has issues with has fertility issues, like 90% of the time it's always put at the woman's door. But what are the actual figures when it comes to fertility?
No, that's a good point. I mean, to your earlier point that yes, before you actually embark on this journey, you want to have a background check, complete blood work. You guys can even talk about your finances and everything like that. The assumption is, what if you drop dead tomorrow? You want to make sure you are living now in a good position. And then when we talk about fertility and all that, it's a misnomer that it's a woman's problem. No, the study actually says it's 50-50. And increasingly, we're seeing more and more younger men with no sperm at all.
And what causes
Honestly,
that?
It could be distress, no sperm. It's called azoospermia.
So they still
ejaculate,
but there's
it's all
nothing
dead, nothing there. So when we're talking about sperm production, all the guys here now, we don't have sperm in our body. It's when your ladies come across to you, your body releases the chemicals, it goes to your factory, which is the testicle, and start the production.
Okay.
So that production, the quality of what comes out depends on what you've been putting in your body all along. So that's why we don't encourage using drugs, taking alcohol excessively and all that. Because it goes down to your factory and it can affect what comes out.
So you're just to understand, you're saying that use of drugs like weed or these hard drugs can affect your fertility.
It does affect.
And also these funny medications that have funny names.
Yes.
I don't want to mention
Bazuma, all those enhancers and all those, because you and I don't really know their chemical composition, and we've seen them in the testicular fluid. So that tells you that whatever comes out, your new unborn that is coming out will have them.
Will you say that the average Nigerian man is more promiscuous than other men in the other parts of the world?
That's what the study says. But the study actually says women also do more.
Yes. Who did that study? Who did that study? Me?
They're not studying.
I can't even spell promiscuous. So basically, okay, let's be honest. In Nigeria, it's do me, I do you. God no go vex. Okay, that's fine then.
You're gonna
What's the Nigeria Council?
So So there's a general stigmatization that goes like a young person that is unmarried trying to have all this kind of knowledge from a doctor. Even the health workers will be looking at you wrong. I remember, I'll say somebody I know that we wanted to get. I say we already. Sorry. I'll say wanted to get contraceptives. And they delayed us at the hospital just to change our minds. First of all, we moved to a separate hospital. They
change your mind. Why?
Because they culturally or religiously they think you are trying to do the wrong thing.
And it's at the hospital that they're delaying it. Like they delayed even in front of when the person was going to put it in was like, are you sure you want to do this? And we were sure, but when they but it's like that. Imagine we were discovered the first time.
Okay, it was one of those ones where they embed in the body of the woman. Okay.
It could be that, or it could be an IUD.
Yeah, but we're trying to discourage every step.
And that's their problem. That's the healthcare problem. You know, because it's not your job to be judgmental. Just provide what they came for, and we know the study is actually there that is very helpful. Don't force my young daughter or niece to go into unprotected stuff when she's educated enough to know that she can use protection.
Speaking of contraception, where are we in terms of like the birth control pill for men? In general, like, and if there were a birth control pill that they released today, would you guys take it?
Yes, I mean, I've started last season. I would take it.
Will you take it? Will you take it?
I won't take it.
I
want it because there's this. Oh, sorry. Okay, go on. Sorry.
So we live. We are in an environment where culturally men are still considered like semi-god. So if I go home and I tell my mom that I'm bringing you home, that you've advised me after one child that I should go and tie my knots or something like that, she's looking at you like I should get somebody else because culturally that's what they think. So it's all about education and communication because our own generation is different from our grandparents. So and the kind of future we want, we have to create it. So if we communicate, then we can now decide that, hey, oh boy, after 2 kids or 3 kids, we have to think about college fees and all that. So maybe it's time for you to tie. And over in the Western world, men are doing it.
When guys get their what's it called? There's a vasectomy. Is it reversible?
Yes, some of it is reversible.
There's somebody that is a very popular celebrity in America, and he is about to have his 4th child in a year. So he literally just has from different women, and obviously the issue of contraception came up, and the fact that it just seems to be always put at the woman's door. And I've read that the having your tubes tied for a woman is a much more complex surgery than a vasectomy.
More invasive,
Yeah. So why is it? Because I had that conversation with my husband as well, and I was like, okay, you know what? After like maybe one more, I think I'm, and I'm quite versatile. So I kind of said, I think you should get a vasectomy, and he's like, hell no, which I imagine is the response that would be the response for a lot of Nigerian guys. So can you explain the process of a vasectomy? And can you just explain how straightforward it is and how it is possible to reverse that?
Yes. So vasectomy is actually very straightforward. Remember we spoke earlier that I don't have any sperm in my body, you don't have any. But when I'm ready to get busy with my woman, that's when the production starts. So the end part of that production comes out of the testicle as not sperm, but semen. But before it gets to the prostate, where the prostate has its own juice and makes it sperm, the path that they're taking is what we call seminiferous tubules. It's just like a pathway. That's the part we cut off. And we cut it on both sides. So when the man comes back and says, look, I just met a nice 16-year-old and I want to have a baby now, we can go back and join them.
Okay.
Did you say 16-year-olds?
And it's same day procedure. So you don't need to be anesthetized. You don't need to be in the hospital. It's done in my office regularly. You just come in. We prefer to do it on a Thursday so the man can put some ice over Friday, Saturday.
Is it painful?
Ready. It's very painful.
Oh, I was hoping you would say no. but the getting a woman's tubes tied, that's more complex. Is that also reversible?
It's more invasive. That's actually more invasive.
Is it reversible?
No, in most cases, because by the time women have 2 tubes, the fallopian, and by the time you invade, the chance of infection is there. The chance of adhesion, that part of the body joining to another part. So it's more complex, and you need to put them under some form of anesthesia. Most men, you don't need to.
Yeah. Okay, so for couples that, of course it's painful. You have to go under general anesthetic, so it's painful. So for couples that maybe are thinking, okay, you know what, me as a woman, I don't want to get my tubes tied, and the man is like, oh, I don't want to get a vasectomy because they feel like it will affect their virility and everything. What are the other options for contraception?
So we still start with the simple one. Though I don't believe in withdrawal method. Withdrawal method has not been proven to be very, very effective.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work. So the condom is still there, easily accessible.
No, because everybody knows about what is it called? Is it pre-com?
Yeah, so there's pre-com,
which has like sperm and everything.
Yeah. So, and when most men are around that time, we don't think with the head anymore. So we've lost some control.
They think with their smaller heads.
Is it so?
Yeah. So that kind of take away that option. There, you can easily go with the reliable condom, or you can do IUD for women, where you can actually insert something, or they can do the depot. You just have to be aware of what are the side effects. Some women will gain so much weight with the depot, water weight, fluid retention, and it affects their body and it affects their self-esteem.
Yeah, so which is the safest one that has the least side effects? No, after one more, after the next kid.
They have female condoms now too. Female condoms are okay. Some women don't like it.
And they
it can be messy. Yeah,
and
it can be messy.
Wait.
Okay, so how about? So are there any side effects for when a guy gets a vasectomy? Does he put on weight? Are there hormone issues? So I mean, more guys need to get vasectomies.
Why is that?
Because what happens with women is that there's so many side effects.
So many side effects.
The woman goes through a lot. They pay through a lot.
It's reversible.
And it's reversible as well. So don't worry. By the time he has like 2 or 3 kids now, I know a few people that after 2 kids, even though the wife wanted more, the guy just went to get his vasectomy straight. Like, nope, in this economy, it ain't gonna happen.
Exactly. More and more guys are doing it without telling their partner. They'll just keep it secret, and it's financial to most men. That look, I have 3 kids. I have to worry about their school education and all that.
Yeah,
that's constant mode. After vasectomy, it's constant.
And it's basically 100% effective.
Okay, got you.
Okay,
thank you so much. Thank you very much for answering our question.
I have lots of questions, and I feel that we're gonna have a lot of viewers that probably want to contact you. Maybe they're like, oh my gosh, that story that Tool said about the green discharge, that's been happening to me for months. What can I do? So if you have so what are the signs of an STD? Because there's some guys I'm sure that are watching that have these symptoms and signs and are just managing it, or they're like, oh, let me drink agbo or something. So what are the signs of an STD?
So number one, when a guy pees, there should be no pain. Your urine should be so painless, nothing like that. And it could start from just even smelling your own urine. That's a form of infection. Don't wait until it gets worse, because you're going to pass it to your partner. Any form of discharge down there is a no-no. Any scratching, don't give me the excuse that you're wearing briefs and that's what's causing it, or you're in under hot weather. No, scratching down there is a form of infection. Get it examined, and we have treatments that are very safe.
So how do you, a lot of guys I'm sure probably are embarrassed. They don't want to come in to get it treated, and they just kind of think, well, I'm sure it'll go away on its own.
Do you do virtual consultation for people like that?
We do it, Zoom, they call in, our clinic is, we open 7 days a week, and it's all men, so it's a safe haven. We don't talk only about soccer, we talk about everything, and you can still maintain your,
Alright, so what's your handle on social media, for example, your at Heritage?
Yes, at heritagemensclinic.com.
Okay, that's the website.
Do you have Instagram or?
No, I'm not, but my manager is.
Okay. Do you guys have any questions? We got 3, very virile guys in the studio.
Young men.
Do you guys have any questions?
Walk into the clinic.
Walk into the clinic.
Your secret is safe with us.
Yes,
That's classic men response.
Exactly.
We don't even have a sign outside of the clinic, but men don't want people to know
that they're going with
it. Honestly.
Okay. How regular for you tested if you are always using condoms?
If you have different partners, he said 4 to 6 weeks.
The question is technical, so
but if you're always using condoms, every partner,
every of the partners,
he said different partners.
But condoms alone cannot.
They're not 100%.
Exactly.
Condoms are not 100%.
Herpes, for example.
How do you get
And remember, even with the condom, you might still be exposed to some seminal fluid, some discharge.
And guess what? basically you can also get an STD through oral sex.
Yes.
Can you
Yes, let's see.
Yeah.
There you go. You didn't.
So it's selective or
if she looks clean. If she looks clean.
Anyway, let's
I love it.
Thank you very
thank
much
you guys.
Thank
for
you.
coming on
Thank
our
you
show.
so much.
Thank you so much. We learned a
Yeah.
lot. And definitely, if you have any questions or if you need to see the doctor,
Yes.
their website is right here on the screen so you can find out more. So our next guest on the show is Olori-Koitos of the Olori-Koitos podcast, and I'm sure you have come across or heard of her Instagram page. Very interesting stuff on there. She shares a lot of tips about sexual pleasure, especially for women, and health and a bunch of other things. Now, there's something that you talk about on your page that is called pleasure confidence. Can you tell us what that is about?
When we talk about pleasure confidence, first of all, thank you, Toolz and Gbemi, for having me on the show. I'm really excited. I love watching your podcast listening to your podcast. So I'm really excited to actually be a guest on here. So when I talk about, pleasure confidence or really owning your pleasure, especially for women, I'm really just talking about discovering and owning your sexual pleasure, reigniting and finding a way, to bring out your passionate self. First of all, creating a deeper connection with yourself as a person, and then taking that connection and sharing it with another human being, because that's really what sex is about. I feel that a lot of us have, in the culture that we come in, we've lost a lot of that, the essence of why we have sex. There's a lot of sex because you want to keep your man, you don't want him to be outside, you are doing things that you don't even necessarily know what you like. You're just like, this is what they said we should be doing. And so you're doing it. So it's really important for me to really, I talk to men and women, but my focus is really for women because I'm a woman, and also because there's an orgasm gap. So it's really important for me to try as much as possible for us to close that orgasm gap, because a man and a woman will have sex. A man is likely to have an orgasm, and only a woman will have an orgasm only like 67% of the time. And I don't think they even did it for Nigerian women. Because I think if it was Nigerian women, it would probably be lower.
Much lower. Okay, silly question, but an important question. How do you, as a woman, figure out what you like?
So I think a lot of it has to do with self-exploration. There is there's a lot of thought that says, especially in our community, that says, masturbation is bad. But the science shows that masturbation is the best way for a woman to really discover what she likes sexually. Because first of all, it takes away the pressure of performance. Because for a lot of women, the first sexual experience you have is with somebody. So it's in the context of that person's pleasure. But when you take out that context of the person and you're actually really trying to understand what you like, then you are able to discover what gives me, for example, pleasure. And then I can take that and then share that with my partner. And even for someone there's people who are like, masturbation, okay. But then in the midst of partnered sex, what are the things that you tend to enjoy more often? And you would like your partner to spend more time doing. So those are some things. And then there's something that I do with a lot of my clients, which is a pleasure mapping guide. You take your time to establish and find out what are the erogenous zones on your body. And when we talk about erogenous zones, we're saying what are the parts of your body that are more sensitive to touch. So you look at maybe like your scalp, for example. For some women, or for some people, you go and get your hair washed, and when the person is like massaging your scalp, it feels really good.
That feels good.
That is an erogenous zone.
Yeah, but I fall asleep. Is that erogenous?
She's weird. It's like when and I prefer it when the person doesn't have sharp fingernails, and they get in there and your leg is like, ooh.
But that's what I like, and then I sleep.
Because it feels good.
Well, it makes me sleep,
It feels good.
It relaxes
me.
You can channel that. You can actually take that into your sexual play. Do you get? The men not necessarily do it till you fall asleep. It could be that there's something about it that feels really good. You incorporate that among other things. incorporate that among other things. For some people, it's their armpit. For some people, it's their neck, the side of your breast. And I mean, because a lot of times we only think about nipples and genitals. But there are a lot of places, the small of your back, in between your thighs. Take your time. You can actually do this with your partner if you're someone who's not very comfortable, like touching yourself or feeling yourself. So do it with your partner. And you're taking sex and penetration off the table. You're literally just taking this time to explore each other's bodies. And then, do you like soft touch, hard touch? Is it a nibble here? Is it just a caress? How do you like? Do you want to be grabbed? Do you like to be spanked? Those are things, that you will take your time to explore.
Yeah. What are your views on choking?
I knew you were going to say that. I've seen you make fun of Gbemi.
Gbemi doesn't like being choked.
I don't like what I hate. Please.
So for me, I think that what is important is, do you like it? If you like it, is your partner willing to engage in it? The most important thing is consent. If Gbemi doesn't like choking, then it's off the table for her. If it's a hard no. It's important when you're in a relationship and sexually active with someone, we have this thing where you look at like your green light, your red light, and your yellow light. The red light, for example, could be like, Gbemi's choking, I'm not going there. Green light are the things you like, and yellow is like, I'm not sure, I'm not, and then those are the things that you might want to like say, okay, can we explore that? Are we, willing to look at it and all of that? So it's all about consent and really respecting each other's boundaries.
Okay. So how do you get, okay, there is a culture here of, women kind of just almost being expected to just go into the bedroom and take whatever's given to them. So how do you educate it's true, because a lot of guys, let's be honest, a lot of active Nigerian guys, they've been with, a lot of women, and they kind of think that, one method works for all, and they just kind of think, I did this for my, previous partner and she seemed to like it, so I'm going to do it for you. So how do you educate your partner and just kind of say, well, you might have done that for her, or you might have been with like a whole bunch of people, but you're not doing it right?
I have to say that I always beg women, first of all, please stop faking. Just stop faking the orgasms. Stop giving those courtesy moans. Stop it. If you don't feel something,
Can I interrupt with one quick question? See, guys, because they always say that you have stories of guys saying, oh, I was with this girl and she was dead quiet. Because you weren't doing what she wanted you to do. She was dead quiet because, you're not doing the right thing.
I'm doing it wrong. Don't keep quiet.
Silence is an answer.
Maybe silence at that point. Silence is an answer. Silence is an answer. Sorry, please continue.
Silence is also a way. No, silence is also a way to communicate. It's communication. Now, I encourage you to make as much noise as you want to in the bedroom, because there's also the flip side of people who you're actually enjoying it, but you're scared to moan because you're like, I don't know, I don't want to sound like this, or I don't want to, but at the same time, it's important for you to say, you know what, open your mouth. And I think it doesn't start in the bedroom. I think it starts from just your relationship. During your relation, like in non-sexual times, are you someone who can communicate your needs and your wants? And then it's also really about showing women that, look, just because you're telling a guy that this thing you're doing is not really working for me, it's not emasculating. You're not making him feel less than a man. I find that there are a lot of men that would actually really like for a woman to tell them, you know what, I don't really like this. A man is rubbing your clitoris and he's just going at it like he's a DJ scratching, this. And here you are like, he's hurting, you're just in pain, and you're just there like, does that feel good? Yeah, but it doesn't. I mean, look, some people are not able to open their mouths and say, no, it doesn't. But maybe you can just move his hand away. And then you can talk about it, afterwards. You can talk about it afterwards and say, hey, look, that was good. But, I really enjoy more when you do this and not this, X, Y. Come start with like positive reinforcement and then move back. And sometimes if you have no positive reinforcement,
that's not. I think that a lot of times the issue is with shame. Here's even for just having a figure or developing early, people already shame little girls. A 9-year-old, 10-year-old girl is wearing a bra, or she has hips or whatever, and people are already shaming her or looking at her, sexualizing her or whatever. And then if we listen to the generation before, she expected to be pure and keep yourself for your husband.
Like me.
Then at the same time, then when you marry, they expect you all of a sudden to be this sexual ninja and keep this man because you need to screw him so well that he won't look outside. So where are you supposed to pick up all these skills from? The air? Like how?
You know what, Gbemi, this is a big reason why I do what I do. Because you're expected to just flip a switch, like get married and then you flip a switch. But we all know that that's not true, because the sexual shame that you have grown up with continues to plague you even after you are now in a legal, you now have a legal right to have this sex. But then there's a lot of things that you have to unpack, which is why, I started Olateru-Olagbegi in order to give, adults, it's the sex education you wish you had. And it's important for you to learn, unlearn, and then relearn things. And really, I think I'm glad that we're coming up in an age of, the internet, and there's a lot of information out there. You also want to be careful because there's so much information out there, you want to get information from credible sources. But it's important for women and men to learn, right? You take workshops, you take classes, and it's just like anything else. I want to learn how to make ofada stew. I didn't grow up cooking it. I go online, I go on YouTube, I go on different blogs, and I try to get a recipe and I learn how to do it. Sex is not inherent. We're not born knowing how to do these things. We think it's natural. It's just something that you should get into the bedroom and know how to do. But it's a learned skill. You learn it as a skill, just like you learn all other kind of life skills.
Okay, I have two questions. The first one is this. So I asked you about how a woman knows what she likes, but let me ask this question for, say, our male viewers. And they're probably thinking, okay, things are okay in the bedroom. How do I make them better? How do I get to find out a bit more about what she likes? Maybe his partner isn't, the kind of person that is, very open and is able to express, okay, I like this, I don't like that. So how does he figure out what she likes?
Well, she might not be open in terms of speech, but I think that there's always a way for you to find out what she likes. And usually it comes from having discussions when there is no pressure of sexual performance. That's always my biggest thing. Like you can just literally be talking. And sometimes it's even like, maybe you saw a meme, maybe you're on the internet, you found an article, you found it, and you're like, hey, you send it to her, you're like, hey, what do you think about this? Maybe it's something that you've wanted to introduce, but you don't know how she's going to take it. For example, maybe you've never had oral sex, and you're like, okay, you know what, this is something I would like, to receive, and it's also something I would like to give you. Hey, I saw this lady talking about it on the internet. What do you think about it? You're opening avenues to discuss, these things, because otherwise you're just going to keep quiet and make assumptions. And you know what they say about assumptions? You make an ass of you and I. You and you and me, rather. When you assume, you make an ass of you and me. And so it's really just trying as much as possible. Like in your everyday conversations, sex should not be something that you only talk about when you're about to have it. It should be a part of, like you guys had sex yesterday and maybe you were trying something. So you just, at lunch or maybe even while you're chatting while at work, you're like, hey, how was yesterday for you? What did you think? Was there so, you have to kind of, if there's someone who's not very communicative, you have to open avenues up to get them to communicate back and get feedback.
I think people also need to just stop being so afraid. Oh, I'm so sorry. But stop being so, this person is seeing your nakedness. So really, you should be able to have this conversation. Yeah, it's simple, and I think you should also do like frequent checkups, like, okay, do you still like, or do you like when I do XYZ, or whatever?
Or would you like to try this or something?
Something. Yeah. I think we can't all just, nobody has this sexual chip that was just embedded in you that you just automatically know what you're supposed to do, basically. Your second question.
Yeah, it's like a trial and error thing. So my second question is, what are the different, clients that you have, what are the like top two biggest complaints?
The biggest complaints, maybe I'll talk about the biggest complaints for women, and then I can talk about the biggest complaints for men. Yes. The biggest complaint for women, funny enough, that I have seen has to do with pain during sex. Women who, a big part of my clientele are women who come to me because they've they've either always had pain during sex, or they just started having sex and it's really, really painful. And they just can't understand why it is, because this was something that they were told, would just come easy. And all of a sudden, like, penetration is happening and then lots of pain. The biggest reason my male clients come to me is because their partners have like a lowered libido, she's not as into it anymore, either because, she just had a baby, or things are happening. I don't know, when we're dating, it was so fun. And now she's just doing it like it's a chore. How can I change that? So those are the two biggest, and I have women that come with that as well, but those are usually the two biggest issues that people come to.
So for couples that have the issue that you just mentioned, where sex drives are different, because you do hear that quite often. Maybe she has a higher sex drive or he has a higher sex drive. How do they sort things out?
The first thing is just to realize that it's not very common for the both of you in your relationship to have the same level of sex drive. It's more common to have someone who has a little bit more and someone who has less. And when you talk about it, really the whole question of low and higher kind of pathologizes having like a lowered sex drive. Think of it more as like a spontaneous sex drive and then a responsive sex drive. So the person with the higher sex drive is just, you don't really need anything. Wind can just blow you and you're like, oh, I want to have sex.
Let's go.
but for someone who has a responsive sex drive, you kind of need physical stimulus before you to start, before your brain starts to think, oh, this is good. How like, I'm not hungry, but I come and I see you're eating. You're like, hey, yesterday, do you want to have some? I'm like, I'm okay. They're like, no, just taste a spoon. And I taste it. I'm like, oh, this is really good. I wasn't hungry, but I'm going to have some now. That is generally how people with responsive sex drives are. A lot of times we say those people have low sex drives, but really it's just finding the right opportunity to present it to them. So if you're now a couple where maybe, for example, she has a higher sex drive and he's just like a sex food, you want to come to, you first want to agree on, like, say maybe what the problem is. Okay, the frequency is not as high as one person would like it. So you wanted sex once every 2 weeks and she wants sex, every 5 days. Then can we come to an agreement and, say, okay, let's come to a compromise. Can we have sex now, maybe twice a week or 3 times a week or whatever, the both of you are able to agree on. And then you can schedule sex. A lot of times we think of scheduling as, it doesn't, you think that, scheduling sex is like, it's not sexy. But guess what? When you go on a date, right? Even when you're dating, you're like, oh, okay, we're seeing each other on Friday. You've shaved, you've worn your sexy dress,
your sexy undies.
Yes, that you've gone and bought that lingerie, that perfume that drives him crazy. You have sprayed it. You've gone to the dinner, but you know.
It's about to be popping
tonight. Isn't that scheduling sex? You have scheduled it. You've just not done it officially. So look, especially when you're in a long-term relationship, you see, when you schedule sex, a lot of times that means that you're putting it at the top of your agenda. A lot of times for all of us, we're busy, you have so much going on. If you're now like married, you have kids, there's just a lot asking for your attention. Sex is usually, will now be like at the bottom, is the last thing you think about. So by the time you're getting to sex, sometimes it's not that you don't love this person or you want to be with them, but you are tired, right? But when you have scheduled it, you've put it on your calendar, literally, you start looking forward to it. As your day is going, you're on the OffAir show, you're thinking, oh, we're having sex tonight. Fantastic.
Why are you tapping me?
You're starting to get into it. In fact, that alone, your biggest sexual organ is your brain. So you're getting aroused. You haven't been touched. You're looking forward to it. And that is a
as you wear your green frickum dress.
What is wrong with you today? This is not my frickum dress. Just saying.
She said, "Y'all not."
For me, I think the biggest thing is really communication. Just because you're having, a lot of people think that, oh, we're having this issue and it cannot be fixed, or we cannot work through it. There's almost nothing you can't work through if both of you are committed to making it work. And, sometimes you might have to see, come see a coach like me, go to there, whatever it is you need to do. There are a lot of tools and resources. Take advantage of them and use them to, get your sex life. Because really, the two biggest reasons why people break up, sex and money. So...
Sex and money.
Sex and money.
Okay, since you mentioned, when you mentioned that they come to you, I was just like, wow, I can imagine that you've dealt with all sorts of cases, and unfortunately you can't tell us, damn it.
I mean, she probably can't mention names, but what was the strangest issue that you've had to deal with?
Or most unique?
The thing is the question about weird is, I don't think there's any such thing as weird. Weird is relative. When you come to me, I am a judgment-free.
Even when they mention fecal matter.
I did once have somebody who was interested in exploring such things. Mm-hmm. It was brought to their partner's attention, and their partner was not. It was the partner that actually came to me and was like, "This person wants to
poo-poo on me."
So sometimes you have to with some things like that, right? It's a lot of times some of these things come from the person, but some of these things comes from the things you've been exposed to.
Yeah.
What have you been watching? What have you been, where have you been getting it? And, sex is not some people treat sex the way they treat drugs. You know how some people start with drinking alcohol, then they go to weed, and then they're going to crack, and they just want to they're always looking for, they're just never satisfied with what they have at that moment. What we had to work through was finding out, okay, this thing that you want, is this a hard yes? If you don't have it, does that mean, are you not going to have, does that mean you don't enjoy sex at all? Or is this just something that has piqued your interest and you would like to explore? Now that your partner is absolutely against it, because let's even go back to something that maybe not be as far out as that. There's some people that do not like oral sex. There is nothing... I've had a lot of...
Don't like giving it or receiving it or
both?
Or both. I've had people who have come to me and said, look, listen, right? I know what you've said. You talk about, men giving head, giving women pleasure, let her come first. You talk about how the clitoris, blah, blah, blah. But madam, I cannot put my mouth there. I have tried. I cannot. And then I'm like, you know what? Okay. The woman wants it, you don't want it. Okay, let's come to an agreement. Are you willing to, now we have toys, right? You can get one of those clitoral suckers. Are you willing to use that on her? If he says yes, and she's like, okay, you know what? What she's looking for is this, right? If he uses it on you, does that, and you're getting a similar sensation, does that work for you? Or do you need it to come from him? Do you get what I mean? So looking for a compromise, because for some people, it's just, you've tried everything. You've told them, they just cannot get their minds wrapped around certain types of, sexual acts. And again, you cannot blame them. Now, this is why I think it's very important for you to talk about these things. Remember what I said about green, yellow, and red? Talk about these things before you guys get together. Don't get married and you're like, oh, he doesn't give me head. And now you are tired. Or, oh, she refuses to, suck my penis and I want her to swallow, but she refuses to swallow. And this is very important to me. Now you guys are at a head and you can't come to a compromise. So it's important to talk about these things, even if you're celibate or abstinent. It's important to have these sexual talks about your sexual relationship before you know.
But what if you were a virgin before you got married and you didn't have any sort of experience? And you're pure like me.
Why would you go into... Anyway, let me just keep
No,
quiet,
but there's some people... No, there's some people that...
It's like going to an exam and you did not study.
But
what are you really doing?
Wait, there's some people that it's something that they chose to remain like a virgin before they got married. So what advice would you have for people like that?
Prime pussy is. Anyway, continue.
So I think that you can remain a virgin before you get married, but I don't think that being celibate or being abstinent means that you should be ignorant. It's important for you to educate yourself and, you know, find out about these things. Now, you may not know whether you like it or not, particularly, but if it's something that you're willing to explore, I think that at some point, you know, in the process of when you're with this person, closer to maybe when you're thinking of marrying this person and tying your life to this person, you should start to talk about things like this. Talking about it doesn't mean that you will start having it, right? Especially if your reason for being celibate or abstinent is self-motivating. Then you should be able to, you know, have these discussions, because it's part of what we advocate for in terms of premarital counseling. Even like the church that I belong to now has, you know, they have actually incorporated like some sex education in the part of their premarital counseling, because they've realized that like this is something that comes back to bite a lot of people, you know, after marriage. So let's talk about it before marriage.
That's actually very important, because a lot of people that I know, including myself, that had premarital counseling, they never brought up sex education. They never
didn't
did.
bring what they asked if I was a virgin. They didn't ask Kimo, but they asked me if I was a virgin.
They just said, you know, make sure you do it to your husband. Anyways,
So what I got in premarital counseling was, oh, you cannot say no to your husband. His body, your body belongs to him. You know, that kind of thing. And look, where it's coming from, like there are ways to frame it that, and they just keep talking about to the women, you must do this, you must do that. And I'm just like, why aren't you telling him that his body?
They never even say, you know, make sure you please your, you know, your partner. It's kind of just, oh, just never turn him down. The body belongs to you. Thank you so much. Thank you. We have tons and tons of questions, but of course we need to let you go. How can people get in touch with you?
Thank you so much. You can find me on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Facebook at Olateru-Olagbegi. I have a podcast called the Olateru-Olagbegi Podcast. You can find it on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you listen to your podcast. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate the conversation.
And on that note, we are going to say goodbye. You know what? Can you guys tell I'm a bit sick? You can't, can you? I think I did very well. I've been like, she had some kind of
sickness.
First of all, she had some cold last week. Yes. I've been sneezing, I've been coughing, so I don't know what kind of. So you think it's me? You know? Yes. Now.
Did we kiss?
Ew! No. We're sitting right next to each other. I told you, Gbemi, you're not my type. Stop it.
Girl, no.
No means no.
Girl, no. Don't even flatter yourself at all.
Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you have any questions for our guests, you know how to reach them. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. If you're old enough to be bumping uglies, you're old enough to ask questions about it, okay?
Exactly.
And if you're old enough to be bumping uglies with, you know, other people. If
you better have money to raise the children.
If you're having several genital meets and greets with several people, then, as a good doctor said, you need to be testing yourself 4 to 6 weeks, every 4 to 6 weeks, okay? Very, very, so STDs are real, and I strongly believe that there's some STDs in Nigeria that haven't been discovered yet.
Absolutely.
Yes, sometimes it's not a spiritual problem, sometimes it's an STD that hasn't been discovered.
You know what?
It's true. Bye. Bye, guys. I'm gonna go to sleep. I'm tired.